in the meetup. It should be someone else, because Jim's already busy with this stuff. But it should be someone else to become a congressional district liaison or a coordinator or that sort of thing. But with 5 weeks left to go before signature gathering is done, if you have not found your delegates yet, boy, time's running short.
As far as if this was just our group isolated, I think we have our 4. The people that want to do it in the 17th district. Okay. I think the only alternative was trying to get in touch with Senator Fulmer to find out if there's anybody he knows that already was a Republican delegate, that already has that name recognition, that sort of drawl or whatever, that we could already have him just, sign up as a delegate again. Only this time we know that he's going to be going there to vote for Ron.
The only problem I see with that theory is that perhaps the Burks group and perhaps the Schuylkill group already have their 4 that they want to run for the 17th district too.
Right. So that's important.
And that's why you need to interface with those people.
Amy was a Schuylkill organizer. Joe Devine in Lebanon. Is it Tim in Reading?
No, it's Gary.
Gary?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's Gary's last name?
That's what I'm trying to remember. Lloyd. Gary Lloyd.
So I mean you see the obstacles in front of you. It's just an obstacle of logistics. And it's just a matter of making one person take ownership of these different jobs. One person in charge of the congressional district, not somebody who's running a meetup.
And that person may not necessarily even be the delegate. They just are the person who is
Just
organizing who the
coordinating
delegate
communications between the different meetup groups in the congressional district.
Right.
And it gets a little bit confusing when you have, we've got people from 3 different congressional districts here. So it's like, okay, file off and go meet somebody else, from another meetup.
For meetup groups for my congressional district.
Yeah.
Well, you're probably going to have 1 or 2 like that maybe out in Lebanon. That would probably be the central location for the whole district.
Yeah.
But right now we need somebody for 19th and somebody for 17th. So somebody has the time.
Harrison's running for.
Do you have the time?
You got the time.
Even when going to New Hampshire, are you still going to go to New Hampshire?
Yeah. What's that?
You still going to go to New Hampshire?
The other thing, after you find somebody to be that coordinator, then you have to develop a strategy for running delegates. Are you going to go knock on doors and gather signatures for a delegate and say, we're with the Ron Paul campaign and we want to run this person as delegate? Is that going to work for you? Maybe some places it will. Maybe some places it won't. Do they want to run anonymously? Not affiliated with any candidate, but they're a Ron Paul supporter. That's something that you guys have to decide.
What do you think's best?
They have to be Republicans, right?
Yes. They have to be Republicans.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Making sure.
Yes.
I have a question. In your honest opinion, if we were to go door to door and ask people or say, hey, I'm running for a delegate, do you think the majority of people would know what a delegate even is?
No. So you'll have to explain it to them. Hi, Mrs. Jones. We're going around gathering signatures. We'd like to send Dave Gary to the Republican National Convention in Minnesota next September so that he can help us pick the best possible presidential candidate to represent the Republican Party in the election.
That brings up something we talked about before, maybe getting a list of Republicans in the county, addresses.
Here's the thing, what you can do. You can get all this stuff for free. You don't have to work hard at it at all. Your county election board has walking lists on file. They have them ready for you to take. You just go there, you ask for a walking list for whatever your neighborhood is. It'll list the Republicans in the order that they live on the street. Real easy stuff. Wonderful for you. Usually when there's 1 Republican in a house, there's usually 1 or 2 more. So to get those 20 signatures, it's not going to take long at all.
Take an hour of that.
If you do it the right way. Don't worry about, where am I going to find all these Republicans? Go to your county election board and get, it's either called, some call it a street list, some call it a walking list, but it's a walking or a street list of Republican voters. Real easy stuff. Done.
Would it be allowable to take voter registration forms with you and perhaps you could get them to change at that same time, or would that not be allowed?
I'm trying to think. You could do that, however, and you might want to do that as an ancillary effort. However, I wouldn't spend a whole lot of attention on that because your goal really is get the signatures. What's going to happen is if somebody signs your petition and they change their registration to Republican that day, what's going to happen is that person's signature is going to get challenged because they weren't registered Republican on that day. Okay? Yes, sir.
Are these, do we have to use like an official form to?
Yes, there is an official form, and this is part 2 of this. After you have your congressional meetup liaisons and you've picked your delegates, I have a wonderful, wonderful hands-on kind of how to gather signatures plan that I use for PA Clean Sweep. I'm more than willing to come back to any Ron Paul meetup and share that with you and spend some time teaching you how to gather signatures, because it's a very, very tedious process. One would think that it's easy to get 20 signatures on a piece of paper. Wouldn't one? Well, it's not, because when that person signs your petition for whomever it is, they have to sign their name, they have to print their name, they have to write down their house number and the street they live on, they have to print the municipality that they live in, not necessarily their mailing address, and they have to date the petition. And all those things have to be done in the proper order, and it has to match exactly what's on their voter registration card. Otherwise, when you turn in your 250 signatures, Mr. Republican that doesn't like Ron Paul is going to challenge your petitions, and they're going to get a sufficient number of those signatures thrown out so that your delegate is no longer on the ballot.
Who does that go to? County elections?
No, for delegate to the Republican National Convention, the petitions and all the accompanying forms and the filing fees get turned in to the Department of State. And again, people at the Department of State are very courteous, they're very professional, they're very, very nice people. So always when you deal with those folks, be very, 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 very polite.
They may have a website and have some information concerning this, maybe?
I have not seen anything on the Department of State website regarding delegates to the National Convention.
I think they should or would.
One would think, but this is government we're talking about. Yes, sir.
Did anybody see the videos that the Ron Paul campaign put out that describes in detail the whole delegate process? There's 3 separate videos that the Ron Paul campaign, the Ron Paul, this guy, I'm not sure what his name was, but he was in charge of many past Ron Paul campaigns, and he actually put together a series of 3 videos that describes in detail this whole process. So if you go to, I think it's ronpaul2008.com, the links are somewhere. I don't know where they are.
Is it the delegate process once the delegates are on the ballot, or getting a delegate on the ballot?
I'm not
Because
sure. Not sure.
I'm
'Cause
assuming
I watched the first part of it, and quite honestly, I didn't understand a lot of it. I need to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm assuming that what they've put on the internet for national distribution is simply how the Republican National Committee system works and what the delegates' roles are and how that is, because
it's not what it's basically said. Ron Paul will not win if you don't have delegates, and this is how you do it.
okay,
That's what it is.
okay, but I will tell you that in each of the 50 several states, it's a different process to get that person on the ballot. So I'm sure they didn't create 50 separate videos yet.
Sure.
So that's why you have to be Ron Paul's expert in Pennsylvania. You have to be Ron Paul's expert in Pennsylvania. And like I said, I'm more than willing to come back anytime to any Ron Paul meetup to explain the art, and it really is an art, of petitioning. However, I'm not willing to do that until you've put your congressional meetup teams together and you've selected who's going to run for delegate.